Yes, Bob.
We hear all the time that soy is bad, and that unless it's fermented, that would be the exception. So do you feel that it's, what's your feeling on that, and is ours fermented? What do we tell people?
Okay. Well, first of all, you should tell people that soy is not bad, okay? And there's a lot of sort of malarkey that goes on out in the environment. And if you do take the time, as we've done, to look not just at the challenge, but the source of the challenge, somebody says soy is bad. Who are they? Who says that? And what are they basing that on? Because if you think about it, those populations who consume the most soy are not exactly dropping dead like flies from it, right? The Asian population tends to be pretty darn healthy. They've got pretty darn good life expectancy, and the incidence of diseases like breast cancer are almost not there until our food supply shows up, okay? Then they get into trouble. If they come here and start eating our food, they get into trouble. If our food makes its way over there, they get in trouble. So, the basic evidence, epidemiology, says that doesn't make any sense. So we go and investigate, and we found that often the naysayers of protein are the prosayers of alternative protein sources. Okay? A lot of this bad rapping soy protein came from those people who would like to have you eat more beef. Beef is a primary source of protein in the American diet. If people start moving away from beef and taking other protein sources for protein, that will cut into our market share. Seriously. And I could tell you a long story about it, but there's a primary origin of a lot of this stuff. Secondly, even major U.S. institutions have had some concerns about whether soy is a potential to cause breast cancer or what, because they think it's got these estrogen mimics in there, these isoflavones. Even MD Anderson, which is a very big cancer research center down in Texas, got involved in it early on. I've actually met and talked with them a couple of times and at meetings and said, I think you need to look at the evidence a little more closely. You're getting leveraged into this belief system based on a belief system, not necessarily on solid scientific data. And eventually they started looking and looking and looking, and there's another one of these messages online that you can get. You can find it in YouTube and so on, that was on CNN actually, but it's now on YouTube, where representatives from the MD Anderson Cancer Research Clinic come out and they say, we used to think that soy was potentially bad, that it might be a cancer promoter. And then later on we began to moderate our position and decided that probably it wasn't a cancer promoter. But now we actually believe that it may be a cancer preventer, particularly for breast cancer. Okay, so the rationale, the scientific evidence behind it has migrated to the point where the major voices of this particular area of controversy are now thinking that soy is in fact likely to be a health promoter, not a health detractor. Okay, so soy in general is not bad for you. If you want that, you can get the information on that link from the office. It came out in 2011, a news story in late 2011. Or like I say, if you go in and put CNN, MD Anderson, soy, and in the search bar for YouTube, you'll probably take you right there. It shouldn't be hard to find. But it's a very nice piece. There was also some published in USA Today about it. Coming back to the idea of fermentation, fermentation is the classic way in which the Asians neutralized a particularly challenging component of soy to the human body. Not per se a toxin, but something that gives our body a challenge to metabolize, or some of us. So they use this fermentation process, which through heat and the presence of these bacteria, because fermentation is a bacterial function, they're able to metabolize that stuff and neutralize it. That's nice, and it was probably appropriate in ancient China and those parts of the world, but modern technology has allowed us, we know exactly what that compound is, and we know how to eliminate that compound from all our protein sources. We use soy protein isolates, which means we get the protein, isolate the proteins, and the sugars and the oils and the fiber, and this particular tough to deal with ingredient goes the other direction. So we actually make the raw material so that this is not present, okay, without relying on. Fermentation requires heat. Heat denatures protein. It doesn't kill the soy protein value off, but it certainly doesn't help it. So we found ways to preserve the protein and get rid of the culprit at the same time.